all you listeners and regulars who come in and see us on the show. Send some love over. Hopefully, with every like on this comment, he gets better. I'm telling you, that's what he told me. That was the message he told me. Every like, every subscribe, every bell icon, he feels better. So, send your support over to him. We're
Show,
wishing
yeah, drop some
well.
comments down there. Yeah, show him some love.
And some love, yeah. But yeah, welcome everyone to the show. Sorry about last week as well. It was a bit of an emergency with all the stuff happening with tax, so we decided to delay it for the week. But we're back. And one of the first things I want to ask you, Samad, is how much do you think a full, scale fossil of a T-Rex costs?
That's a very random question, but this kind of sounds like the conversation we have when we drive up to Tech's house.
Yeah,
It
doesn't
always starts off with something.
it?
So,
Well, one recently got sold. How much do you think it costs? Now, this will be in USD.
USDs. I would say a few million at least. I would say maybe, maybe 10, 20 million.
20 million. One got sold recently for 32 million in the
Okay.
United States. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Wow.
and it also has a name called Stan. It's Stan the T-Rex. Could you imagine?
Oh, Adam, it's. Hey, we got Sully in the chat. He's calling you an imposter.
Me? What did I
Yeah.
do? I was in
Well.
electrical the whole time. All right. Look at me right now. I got vented. All right. I'm innocent. I'm telling you right now. Um,
We
but
did we did miss you when we were playing last time though. Sully's a natural. Sully is a
Yeah,
complete
well, yeah,
natural
yeah.
man.
Sully's like a competitive Among Us player.
Yeah, I know.
He's got
Yeah,
a
he's
what's
got
his
a major
KD
league.
ratio? That's what I want to know. What's his KD ratio?
He's got a poker face. I gotta say that. Yeah, he's pretty good
You know,
at hiding it.
yeah, it is really funny when you play with people, and sometimes like you can tell when certain people are imposters because of how like
Yeah,
because of how experienced they are, right? Like oh, they know how to close doors and they know how to what is it, set off the reactor and all that kind of stuff. Like when I was playing, I had no idea how to do any of that stuff, so
yeah.
I was getting through it on my own. It's really funny because Among Us kind of took popularity over what was the
Fall
other game?
Guys.
Fall
Fall
Guys,
Guys.
right? And Fall Guys came out with its season two.
Yeah.
Are people still playing Fall Guys? Like
I
I
still
kind of
play
felt.
it. I
You
still
still
play
play
it,
it?
but I
Do you
never.
like
I don't
season
take
two?
it. Well, I haven't played season two yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a shot tonight. But the way that I see Fall Guys is it's like a good game to just like just chill out. You don't really have to like I guess you don't have to be pretend to be
Yeah,
innocent
yeah, yeah.
as an
You can
imposter.
turn off. You can turn
Yeah,
your brain off
you can
until
literally
you
turn your
get to
brain
the
off.
final round. Then you
Yeah,
actually have to try.
yeah, exactly. If you really want to win it, then yeah, you got to try it. But up until then, like you can really jump from one game to the next game and not really put much thought to it. So I
Hmm.
still play it. I think I will continue playing it. But one thing I did realize is that it really needs a lot of work when it comes to the servers and yeah, just in general, like the maintaining the game. I feel like they're not really putting in the effort that is required. Because I had so many
Yeah.
games this one time, I am not kidding. Like I think
Mhm.
you saw the
Which
pyrocynical
one?
video as well, yeah. The one that the
Which one?
tech
Which one?
the pyrocynical video tech shared in our chat.
It would have
Oh,
been a
on
while
Fall
ago
Guys.
now,
No, no,
right?
it was just
Oh,
recently.
no, recently. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
did. Yeah, yeah. Right. So you had a
Um,
similar thing happen.
yeah, yeah. So this one time, I am not joking. Like I jumped and I caught the crown. I was
Mm.
literally touching it, and it says eliminated.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's because of the I
The
guess like
mechanics,
the
I
mechanics
think.
and also the latency like issues, right? Like I remember I've watched some streamers who were playing and like on one of their views they caught the crown and on the other person's view the other person was ahead and caught the crown, and so it's like to them it's like a syncing issue, right? So
Wow.
the thing is like it probably is related to like who hosts, right? Similar to like I was mentioning before about back in the day when with Call of Duty, if you were the host, like you usually like slay and do really well at it, right? So I'm assuming
Oh yeah, because
it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
local
yeah.
server
No,
side issue of some kind.
yeah, but I feel like they really need to resolve that if they want to maintain that player base.
Mhm.
I think
Going
that would
forward.
be yeah, I think that would be very crucial
Yeah, like
to the game's
and
survival
and that's the
in
thing,
general.
right?
It's a
Like
good
they
game
only
though.
have
I really have a good time like playing it with people. I haven't played it with you, Because
Well, I see. I'm waiting for crossplay. Then we can actually get going. Because the thing is, there's only like five developers, of like the very small amount of
it is
developers
a
who
very
made
small
Fall
team.
Guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and I think they only added like maybe like four maps or something with the new update. So like four new
Ah,
maps.
right.
But, like there's a lot
And
of other stuff.
Tech was
Like
saying that they've got like a new game mode as well. It's called the Gauntlet.
yeah, yeah. I'm not too
Yeah,
sure. I mean, maybe
yeah.
the Gauntlet is like the regular mode. Maybe that's what they're like delineating, and then the new mode is something else. But
Something else. Yeah, could
yeah,
be,
I'm not.
could
Yeah,
be.
I'm not too sure myself. But
What about
another.
you? You haven't played in a while.
I was trying to like level up, but like it kind of
Yeah,
gets it kind of gets boring and it kind of gets grindy, especially towards the end of the whole leveling up thing. Like you have to
that's
like
pretty
get
much where like I gave up. I was on
yeah.
I think level 36,
Hmm.
and then I think because I was doing it in the last few days of the season, and I think simultaneously these guys were updating the game, right?
Hmm.
Bruh, like the amount of times I got dropped out, the amount of times it canceled out the game, it was ridiculous, man. Like I would be playing and I'd see like all the characters just freeze up and I'm the only one that can move.
That can move.
Everyone's just doing that,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
waddle
yeah. They're
walk,
just
yeah?
like yeah, but
They're
they're
waddling in
still on
that same
something, right?
spot. Yeah, and
Oh gosh.
um yeah, and then like the timer would run out and the game is still going.
Oh damn,
Yeah, and
that
then it
does
would
suck.
say, yeah, and then it would say we
Sabik,
got
welcome to the
disconnected.
chat.
What's up, Savik?
Um, the other thing I wanted to mention last week, right? They found multiple bodies of water on Mars. Can you believe it? Right? It was maybe like only a couple of years ago. Like they were only kind of finding like frozen ice on Mars, but now there's like thoughts about water on Mars, and that's kind of leading onto like a question that I wanted to ask you and Tag, but unfortunately, I'm sure Tak will say yes to my question. But my question is, um, would you go to Mars, Summer?
I think
Like,
I would
like
be.
Elon Musk comes to your house, he breaks into your house, and he's like,
He
"Samad,
does,
we
he
need
wouldn't even
you."
have to break into my house. I'm just gonna put it. Look, Mars doesn't look very appealing, right? Like if you look at the idea of like living on Mars, it's not going to be an adventurous living because if you do end up going to Mars, realistically speaking, you're going to be part of the terraforming team,
Mhm.
and that involves a lot of different aspects. You've got engineering, you've also got energy, you've got agriculture, establishing something that can sustain
Mhm.
itself. Because of course, travel between Earth and Mars is not going to be a frequent thing.
No,
And
not at
living
all.
on
Although,
rations.
to be fair, like we don't know what the I guess like future plans of um, space travel will be, right? Like we've recently just figured out, through SpaceX, not we, like SpaceX has recently figured out how to kind of fly spaceships and reuse things rather than wasting millions of dollars on
Yeah.
equipment
Single-use
and
rockets. Yeah,
yeah, single use rockets,
yeah.
right? So, maybe like there is a potential for us to make some kind of rocket that will allow for back and forth travel
I
for
think
humans. Who knows?
my um, I think my thing would be, of course, the speed at which we travel. I don't know, like when it comes to a passenger aircraft, I don't know how much, faster it can go without, I guess like damaging the personnel, the people on board, right? Because that's another issue, right? Like if you can only go so fast, and after a while, like for example, I'm gonna bring up something that you were egging me on to watch, The
Mm-hmm.
Expanse.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I think is it the last season when the Mary girl
Oh, yep,
from
yep.
Mars,
Mm-hmm.
how she's like in that pursuit, and the
Yeah, they just have to get like drugged up in order
yeah,
to
yeah,
survive.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. They have to
the,
drug up,
yeah,
but
yeah,
then
yeah,
like the person who's not used to being drugged up
yeah,
or
yeah.
used to traveling at at the high G's,
Mm-hmm.
and she starts bleeding out because her
Because
body's
she
just
can't
not able
handle it.
to. Yeah,
Yeah. By the way, I do recommend everyone, if you haven't watched The Expanse, you should watch it. It's a really great show. It's
yeah.
essentially about I guess like in the future where like humans have kind of started to colonize the galaxy, so to speak, and humans are currently occupying Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt, and
Yeah,
it's kind of led to
between
like the
Jupiter. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's kind of led to the development of like parallel societies, like people who've been living on Mars, people who've been living on Earth, and then people who've been living in space in the belt, right? And they're known as belters. Now, what's pretty interesting about the show, they kind of point out that, well, you know, uh, human development out in space has basically made it so that those belters kind of don't survive very well on an actual planet with gravity, so they have to be given drugs and basically have their body retrained in order to live on certain planets. So it
Yeah.
kind of goes into like a lot of really cool things. There's a lot of like internal like world politics and stuff like that in it. It's really, really good. A fifth season is coming out as well. I don't know. Did you see the trailer for that summer?
I haven't seen it yet. No, you just
Really
mentioned it in the
good.
chat,
It's
so I'm
really,
gonna have a
really good.
look. Yeah, and then who's picked it up now? It's Amazon, yeah.
Amazon, yeah,
Yeah, Amazon's
because
picked it up.
so it's because Bezos is a
Yeah.
really big fan of the show,
Oh,
allegedly, right?
right,
Because
right.
this show was originally on an American network called Sci-Fi,
Yep.
and Sci-Fi is kind of notorious for like dropping a lot of shows that kind of,
A lot of good
you know,
shows, by the way. They
yeah.
sometimes they get really good shows and then they just drop them.
Have you watched any other shows from Sci-Fi? I'm trying to think of
Uh, I,
top of
I
my head.
I have watched shows, but I just can't remember what I've seen.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I know in particular, like, from people online, like they say, oh, like, they always kind of get rid of like good shows that I watch after like one or two seasons. And yeah, I think the show had like three seasons under Sci-Fi, and then
yeah.
no, actually, I think, was it three or
I've
four?
I 3 seasons.
I think it's
So
three.
season
Yeah,
four,
three
yeah,
seasons.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
And
season
season
four.
four,
Season four, I really like season four. I think even from a cinematography point of view, I felt it was the production was actually better, even though it wasn't a grand scale like the previous seasons. I
very steep
thought very yeah very I think it was a very focused um, show. Like
story.
in,
Yeah.
yeah, like they didn't really like branch out. I think they show that that the characters are maturing, and I think that the plot is also expanding into other aspects.
Mhm.
And I think it taps into a lot of. Before I say what I was going to say next, the reason why this show is really good to watch is because it's one of the most accurate shows when it comes to space travel, space battles, and this is in accordance with um, anyone who's pretty much visited space has come, and they've watched this show. They've said that this is what they show inside the show, like for example, when they're out in the space and how the body reacts. Um, so a lot of the astronauts have come out and said that this is a very accurate depiction of what it
Fiction.
would
Yeah.
be, yeah, what it would be like, even the space battle, what the space battle would be like,
Yeah,
because
because for example, like the show doesn't necessarily have like pew pew lasers like
yeah,
firing,
yeah,
right? They just use bullets, right? They
yeah,
just
it's
use like
just
um
ballistics, yeah,
yeah, metal bullets that are traveling at super high speeds, and that damages ships, right?
yeah.
So yeah, things like
And it
that.
uses
It's really interesting.
projections, and it uses like
You know,
gravity.
funnily enough, like even their spacesuits, like, it used to be a bit of like a meme, right? Like when you look at sci-fi shows and how they depict space suits are really like sleek and maybe even like form-fitting and tight. But then you look at the SpaceX spacesuits. I don't know if you've seen the
Yeah, yeah,
SpaceX
yeah,
spacesuit,
yeah,
but they kind of look like that,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
crazy, like to the point that we're getting with space
We don't
travel and
have
stuff
the
like.
fluffy. We don't have the
Yeah, it's
fluffy
not
suits
super
anymore.
bulky,
Yeah,
but
kind
yeah,
of like
like
a Michelin baby.
yeah, like a Michelin baby, exactly. And it's really funny because recently scientists they discovered 24 super habitable planets with conditions that are better than Earth, right? So
Better
uh,
than Earth.
better than Earth, right? For
Wow.
life, right? It doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean that it can necessarily sustain us as people, but like
But it can sustain
it
life,
does.
right?
Yeah, it
Like
can
in general.
sustain life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is stuff out there. Whether or not we can make it there, that's another question. We'll see.
Mm.
Uh, but also speaking of space, James Cameron uh, last week revealed that he finished filming Avatar 2. Remember Avatar, the
Ooh.
first movie?
I do, man. I do. I do remember it.
Like, who remembers?
I think that's like
Cap.
one of the few sci-fi movies I've never watched again ever. Like
Oh
I've
yeah, I
just seen
couldn't.
it that
Yeah,
one
I've only
time.
watched it once.
Yeah, I just never found it that inspiring. Like yeah, it was
Well,
3D. Maybe the
yeah,
the
chat. Do you remember
CGI.
3D? Do you remember
Yeah, the
3D
3D
movies when that
glasses.
was a
Yeah,
thing? Oh
yeah.
man.
When you had to bin it or like keep the you could keep it or you could bin it as well. Remember like
Yeah.
if you go to the IMAX, they would have the
Mm.
bins. You would dump your IMAX glasses because they use a different 3D technology
Oh
compared to the
yeah, so they
rest.
need yeah, so it's like a propriety.
Proprietary, yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I do remember that. But yeah, I never really got into 3D. Clearly, people didn't either. I don't know how they're gonna do 3D in the future, man. It's got to be
They just gotta go higher resolution.
like a chip directed into your brain, so you
Yeah.
think you're like looking out at someone's eyes. Like that's got to
What
be
about
the
the
only way.
7D? What about the 7D cinemas where they like
70.
with someone sitting down there and just splashing water on you?
Oh yeah, yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. Look, anything's possible in the cyberpunk future that we're moving towards. But it is kind of crazy that with all the filming done, that means everything now will be like I guess all the 3D aspects of the movie, like post production, right?
Yeah.
And because of coronavirus and stuff, it's all getting pushed back, right?
Everything's getting pushed back here.
Right? Like all the movies that were supposed to come out are all getting pushed back, right? And Avatar 2 is no exception. I'm wondering, like, are you excited for an Avatar 2? I feel like it's missed its boat for
I
people
think
to.
it's too late
It'll
now.
do well. It'll probably do well because people
I
are like,
think the
I
second one
remember
would.
Avatar.
I think the second one would do well because don't forget that he announced he's gonna make three more movies. So he's gonna take this up to number four. So yeah, if you go on IMDb, you can
Mm,
actually see that he's got the proposed dates for the next sequel. So he's already like
fantastic.
planning ahead, but I feel like he's kind of missed the boat because, with these things and in a, I guess like in a universe of Marvel, DC,
Hmm.
um, the Avengers. So I think these have kind of like taken the spotlight, and it's really
Yeah,
hard to compete
superhero
with them.
movies have.
Yeah,
Yeah, superhero movies really have kind of taken
yeah,
over the
and because they also like
genre, right?
yeah, and they some of them would point out the I guess like the political issues, the social issues in one way or another, and then now they're going to bring in the TV shows as well with Disney Plus.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Um,
that's true. Yeah,
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 yeah. So
exactly.
I think it's a very tough market now because there's a lot of established players, and yeah, even though we are in a lockdown now, and right now we're craving for content. I feel like when things do open up, people would be less inclined for movies and shows
Hmm.
because people would be more excited to socialize and to be outside and to do
Maybe.
things,
Or
maybe
yeah.
travel. That's what I think. I mean, that's what I'm curious about. Like that's what
Well, here's the thing.
about where I can go next. For my
Well,
trip.
that's the thing. Not everybody can leave the country, right? And even when people are visiting country, they try to like in America, like people love going to like the classic theaters, right? Like in I think it's like the Chinese theater. It's like a very famous theater. Like people go to theaters when necessary. I think obviously people are concerned of catching corona, right? But once people get vaccines, like people will go back to the cinemas, I guess. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it wouldn't be like as crazy as before.
no, yeah, that
Yeah,
much I do agree. Like this
yeah.
is kind of showing how much like
We're not gonna. I don't know if I don't know how long it would take for us to be in a fully booked theater.
theater, yeah,
And when I say
yeah.
fully
I
booked,
mean,
not by COVID normal means, I'm talking
mm,
about how it used to be back in the
how it
days.
used to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing. All this kind of stuff is revealing like all these industries that have kind of been propped alive almost artificially, right? Like,
Yep.
oh, go into a cinema. It is kind of weird that going to a movie and watching a movie is a social thing, even though like
Mm.
most of the time you're
You're
quiet.
not
Like I
really
know.
like engaging with anyone, right? Like you.
Yeah, for the most part. Like I know in America, like people are a lot more like kind of rowdy and stuff when they go watch it. But like here in Australia, at least, my like people are usually quiet,
Mm.
for the most part.
For the most part.
So for the
Yeah.
most part, exactly. But yeah, another space movie that's getting delayed is Dune. I've been reading the book, so that's good for me because it gives me more time to actually finish the book before the movie comes out. But then another movie that's getting delayed is The Batman, right? So
Yeah,
that's
dude.
being
What's
delayed.
the deal with that? Wait, what is it?
Who knows? There's like all this kind of like
56.
stuff happening in the background for Batman, right? Because
And it's also Rob Pattinson catching the
yeah, and
virus.
Well, that's the thing, right? The Batman got delayed to 2022, so it's not coming out next year. It's coming out 2022. Yeah,
What?
Yeah, because Dune is being produced by Warner Brothers as well, right? So
Right.
they were supposed to like kind of come out at the same time, but I guess like they don't want them to interfere with each other because I don't know, like it's kind of like that big Marvel problem, right? Like when Marvel is producing so many films, they don't want like multiple films coming out at the same time, right? So they
Yeah,
need
through
to
the same
kind of
studio because they
space.
don't want like people to be picking and choosing what they want
Yeah, because they're
uh,
literally fighting with
people to
themselves
watch.
at that
Yeah,
stage, right?
yeah, yeah.
The Matrix got moved up to Christmas 2021. Shazam 2 is going to 2023, right? So they're all getting pushed up, and it's all because of coronavirus, right? Even Wonder Woman, like that's supposed to come out Christmas this year, but I think it's going to get delayed. Um, Otherwise,
I'm
they have
okay
to,
with that one. I'm okay with
yeah.
that one.
Well, that's the
I'm
thing
not
because
really
otherwise they have
interested.
to release it. Otherwise they have to release it on like the streaming service or something. And every movie that's been coming out on the streaming service hasn't been doing too well. Like Tenet apparently hasn't been doing well from a streaming perspective. Like maybe it's a good movie. I'll watch it when it comes out.
I've heard
Um,
some like mixed reviews about that. I feel like um, again that's the I guess the penalty or the risk of making a movie that's a bit more on the conceptual side and kind of trying out new things, new ideas.
mhm.
Um, Sometimes it doesn't hit the spot, right? Like it kind of like misses it, misses
Yeah.
the audience because you only have even if you make, for example, even if you film 4 to 5 hours of footage,
Mhm.
um, the studio wants you to put out, let's say, a 2.5 hour long movie, max 3 hours. You still have to cut out that 1 hour of filming
Yeah,
and make a narrative that is as close to the original narrative as possible,
that's possible. Yeah.
right? And,
And
and that's the tricky part because you probably want to keep the vast majority of the footage in the movie. Um, and one thing that I've read is that it doesn't really connect with people.
okay.
The so it's got cool concepts, but it doesn't have good characters or like um,
Oh.
yeah, like a character that kind of connects with humanity. It just kind of feels like he's just doing his thing. Like it
Yeah, he's
doesn't.
kind of like just like the vessel which like the people kind of
Yeah,
look. You
yeah,
don't
yeah,
feel
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
him or whatever.
yeah,
Okay. Who's the main actor? I know Robert Pattinson's actually in this movie as well.
yeah. He is.
I didn't know because I just recently watched the trailers for it. 'Cause I'm like I didn't know what this movie was about. Then I watched it and I was like, oh, okay, seems like an interesting film. Like that's the thing. Like I mentioned The Matrix before, right? Like The Matrix is an example of a film where they changed it because they thought that people wouldn't understand certain concepts that were going to be explained in it. Like how they say like in the film that like the robots are harvesting humans for energy,
Yep.
right? That's what they say. But that kind of doesn't make sense because a human like eating meat uh,
Mm.
is like animals and all that, they produce a lot of heat energy, and that's like really wasteful in terms of like an energy transfer. For a robot, you're more likely to just use electricity,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the original
Like the
intention.
whole, yeah, the whole. You're talking about how they say that human beings are essentially a battery replacement.
Well, that's what they said, but the
Yeah.
reality was the intention was that the robots were actually using humans for processing power because brains are far more complex than circuitry, and so they were able to use them as horsepower. Right? That was the original intention, like kind of like biological CPUs, and that's the thing. Like we're kind of moving towards that direction in terms of using
I think
like
that's a much better concept, wouldn't you
well, it
say?
is, but the
Yeah.
problem is when they kind of showed that to like
Warner
the like
Brothers.
test audiences like didn't get it, so they changed it, right? Because it's more easier to wrap your head around, oh, they eat humans for food than
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
right,
Just
and I can't blame him, but like that's an example, and I think maybe that could be the case with Tenet, because like people liked Inception and people got Inception, but I'm sure some people like
no.
watched
There
it.
was still a lot of people who complain about it being like a bit too bizarre. Like people trying to find the little faults into this in the story. And I'm sure like if you look hard enough, you can find something that doesn't make a lot of sense or it's kind of contradictory to the storyline. But I think
Mhm.
that's easy to do like in almost anything, right? Like any pick up any of your favorite shows or movie, you'll find something that doesn't
Yeah,
really
you
add
can
up.
nitpick it, right? Like
Yeah.
no story is going to be perfect. Even the ones that we mentioned before, like The Expanse, it's a really good show, but I'm sure doesn't get everything 100%, right? Like it's all about
No,
like
no,
trying your
no.
best to,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like even in a show, right? There's a difference between like sometimes you have to suspend your disbelief, right? And a good storyteller will be able to convince you that the world, um, like something exists in a world without breaking your immersion in the world, right? Like if somewhere if a show was going to say, oh, dragons exist, right? It would explain, oh, maybe how would a dragon exist, but then it
Mm,
wouldn't suddenly introduce like a spaceship, unless like for no reason, right? There would be a reason to explain why a spaceship and a dragon exist at the same time, right? And that's up to ultimately the author to try and convey that. Now, if Tenet doesn't do a good job at conveying its ideas and people get too confused, like yeah,
mm.
maybe that might throw off some people, but I guess we'll give our
Yeah.
I guess our final judgments
Yeah,
when
I
it
heard
comes
I
out,
read
right?
some really polarizing reviews. Like a lot of the
Damn.
the negative stuff was like, "Damn, man, like you really make it sound that bad." I'm like, "You are you sure you haven't seen The Last Jedi?" Like,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like this, even Nolan said like this film is going to get people back into the cinemas, right? Like that's what he kind of had this film to try and inspire because it's all lockdown and stuff, right? It was like his attempt to try and get people back into the cinemas, and clearly it didn't work.
look, it's
So,
hard. It's hard, you
oh
know.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it
I
is.
can't.
I think it's he's miscalculated his judgment when it comes to getting people back into the cinemas, back
Yeah,
into the
exactly.
theaters.
But you
Yeah.
actually brought up a pretty important point, right? Because you were asking me about like what the situation with Robert Pattinson is, right? Now there are rumors that part of the reason why the delay for Batman is happening, like so far, is because there's been issues with having Robert Pattinson bulk up for the role of Batman. Um,
Ah, yeah, because he
right?
refused to, right? And
Well,
during the
there was a
lockdown.
GQ article that he did like I think back in June, right?
Okay.
And in the article, he talks about how he's kind of done like very little in terms of like trying to keep his physique, and even said in it that James Dean, he's like a famous actor like back in the day from the movie Rebel Without a Cause. He said James Dean, well, he didn't have to bulk up. But that movie was also a very old movie, right? It's not like supposed to reference what people have expectations for Batman, right? And so he said that, and there's a lot of stuff happening in the rumor mill at the moment, but at the moment, all we know, at least from these rumors, is the delay is partially due to him not being able to bulk up for the role. Now, this is when it comes super rumor time. So everything,
Mm.
again, take everything with a grain of salt, right?
Always, always.
Always. It'll only take time before we find out whether I've been talking a lot of shit or whether or whether it's all true, right? Especially with like the Mandalorian stuff that I've been saying the past couple of
Man,
weeks.
I'm so
But
excited. I'm so
yeah,
damn
yeah,
excited.
same. Especially since The Boys is finishing. It's like we got
Yeah.
Mandalorian starting up too. So I'm
All the all
excited
the
to get
all
on
the
that.
boys in the chat, make sure you guys check out the boys. It's actually an
Yes, you have
amazing
to check
show,
out The
man.
Boys,
You
and that's the
have to
thing.
check it out.
That's the thing. The Boys is on Amazon, and The Expanse is also on Amazon, right? So there's really good shows that
It's probably one of the cheapest to get into anyway, out of like all the other streaming services.
yeah, especially if you're getting, I don't know, like Netflix's content kind of sometimes
It's try,
feels
man.
really,
And
yeah, and
they also have The Office. So if you like The Office,
oh
Amazon,
yeah,
yeah,
right, that's
Amazon
right.
Video is a pretty good place to start, man. I would say.
Yeah, exactly. So get on it, watch The Boys, watch The Expanse. They're really good.
Mm.
But with Robert Pattinson, one of the rumors was that how we talked about how Robert Pattinson got coronavirus. One of the rumors is it wasn't true, and that it's a cover to try and delay
Just
the
like
release.
Trump.
Well, yeah, exactly right. This is what I'm saying. You gotta take it with a bit of salt, because there's going to be people salty within the industry that maybe they got the right sources or whatnot. Like one of the rumors is, well, the delay was because he wasn't sick, but he just he was told, hey, you got to tone down, or you have to kind of look in shape, because the problem is
Batman's got to
what
look
they're
a
saying
certain
is,
way. Batman's got to be overpowering, man. It goes without
Well, yeah.
saying. Yeah.
And they were saying that, it's to the point that Chris Terrio, the director, is having problems with him because, they can't film if he kind of looks like a bit of a slob, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to go from
He
he's
shouldn't even be
talking.
complaining, man. Like that's hasn't he seen like the recent Batman movies?
Yeah, but again, he's the actor. This is what I this is the same thing with what I was saying about with the
But
Mandalorian thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, Eventually, like the actors kind of feel like they do have, and
Pedro
ultimately they kind
Pascal,
of
yeah.
do. Yeah, Pedro Pascal, right? They technically do. As a lead star, they actually do have a lot of power in terms of where the
Oh
film
yeah.
goes,
Where he
right?
goes, yeah,
And
yeah.
and let's say you're like 2 months into filming and you've already got a bunch of stuff, and well, now the director's at the behest of the actor, right? Because if he wants something, now that has to be done. Otherwise, all the filming that you've done that goes to waste, right? All the people that you paid, all the production, all the film,
All
maybe
the
the post
sets,
production, all
yeah.
the sets, right? It'll all have to be filmed again. So you're technically a little bit at the behest of the lead star if there's something going on. Now,
Yeah, and you don't want
um,
to leak too much out there as well. Like you don't want to like talk the actor down either. Like because then it shows
mhm,
the disharmony at on the set itself, like on the
exactly.
filming. So and this stuff, all the tabloids will just like
They'll eat it
literally
up,
they will eat
right?
it up so quickly.
And
Uh,
yeah, and DC really doesn't need like another kind of scandal that's happening
Another Batman
with
scandal. I mean, there's you look at Ben Affleck, he
Ben
essentially walked
Affleck.
out. Yeah,
There's all the stuff that was happening with Ray Fisher, right? Like they need to kind of keep their house in order. There's a lot of kind of random stuff happening at Warner Brothers in general at the
in
moment, but I won't
general.
get into it here. But um, the main thing is that this could also be affecting, like, again, the rumors were also saying that this may be affecting the potential of whether we're going to get a sequel to this movie, right?
Well, it really
Because
depends on how he behaves, right? Like, I
well,
don't
yeah,
blame
because if
them.
Chris Terrio kind of deals with Robert Pattinson like this, he's going to be put off ever doing a sequel movie to this, right? Unless they get like a different actor or something, but then the vision's different and all that. So yeah, it really sucks to
Recasting
hear
is not
that.
going
I
to look
hope it's
very
not
good.
true.
Yeah.
um
I hope he
I
gets
hope,
his shit together.
yeah, I hope,
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm really excited for the film. What they've shown, so that first trailer was
It
based
was
on all
dope.
the
Yeah.
little things that they've filmed so far, and it looked pretty cool.
Yeah. I
um
agree. Savik
Especially.
said something
Mhm.
before we move on. He's asking about the robot dog that it's going around on social. It's essentially, I don't know if you know Savik, but that dog belongs to Boston Robotics, who've been making um, pets and animals who are able to like react to your emotions, how you call them, and behave like an animal. So yeah, those dogs, if you want to call them a dog, those robots
Is
have
that the
been.
thing with the little balls and they like connect together or
No, no,
something?
no,
Or
no.
am I
It's
thinking
no,
of
no, no,
something
no, no,
else?
no, no. They are actually they look like an animal. Like
Oh,
their
okay.
legs have that the arch, like
Hmm.
um where your femur kind of connects with your shin bone,
Hmm.
right? And with dogs, you know how they have that suspension for running,
Yeah, yeah,
like most four-legged animals do with their rear legs.
yeah.
They have that suspension which kind of like propels them to run
Ah.
faster. They're completely designed like a dog. They don't, of course, like look like one.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I'm looking at some pictures
yeah,
now of
so
these
Boston
things.
Robotics have been working on that for a very long time. I think what they're trying to develop is, workhorses essentially. So, and
Yeah,
yeah,
makes
um,
sense.
and things, and be able to take complex commands because these dogs and these robot dogs. If you watch a lot of videos, like like if you kick them, they're able to like withstand.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen them with like how they have like the human kind of shaped like
Yeah,
robots
yeah,
at Boston Dynamics, and when you like push them, they like readjust and
yeah,
like they'll
yeah,
be holding boxes and they'll do backflips and stuff. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
wouldn't be
yeah.
surprised if that's the same stuff that they're doing with these dogs, right? Like the same
Yeah,
kind of
essentially.
programming.
Yeah, and of
Yeah.
course,
Okay.
yeah, and then if you apply some AI to it, it's going to behave like one. And I think it wouldn't be such a bad pet if you really think about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it
If
would
it's able to
probably
like
learn more
do,
tricks, right?
yeah, I mean, you could probably get it to behave how you want it to behave. It's not going to be like a regular dog just chewing everything up,
Yeah. Unlike
or
my
or a
cat.
cat, yeah, or like your
Yeah.
cat. being moody and shit.
Yeah, who just does whatever she wants, which is why you need to like and subscribe because we have to dox my cat, all right? At 100 subs, we will dox her live
We'll
on air.
dox.
She can't keep getting away with this, all right? I'm telling you guys, we gotta expose her for the cat that she is, all right?
We're
But
doing
that's really cool.
this.
I do really like this kind of Boston Dynamic
Yeah,
dog.
so I think so. There was a video going around on the internet. I think it was like a bunch of girls in the car, and they saw
Mhm.
the dog.
Boston Dynamic
Yeah,
dog.
yeah, like walking
Uh,
on the pathway, and they
yeah.
called it, and then it came, and then it walked away. It kind of behaved like a regular dog.
Ah.
Which again, like that just shows like it's learning. They've of course like fed that information in with like a million samples because you know
Yeah, yeah.
yeah um,
Yeah, I remember there was like a an AI program that somebody created for like Super Mario, and
yep
essentially it was like playing the first level, right? And so each time it would like play like the Mario character, and when it would like reach some point, it would like try and do something different to try and get over the obstacles. Like let's say there was like a Goomba in the way, it
yep
gets to that point and then it gets hit. So then it would learn, okay, I'm gonna try something else, jump. Oh, okay, this is successful. All right, excellent. Then it keeps it. So it's done this like hundreds and like probably thousands of times, like dying
all the
repeatedly.
patterns, yeah, learning
Yeah,
all the
and then
patterns.
it's learning how to like dodge everything in the end. So again, I'm not an AI specialist, but I'm sure like they use like a very like similar kind of method to try and teach these like robots like, oh, if you're on this ground, it's gonna like dip a little bit so you can like
Mm,
adjust your like
yeah, the
counterweight to kind of
algorithms, yeah,
continue moving. Yeah,
yeah,
like that's cool. I'm pretty sure like I'm looking at this dog and I'm pretty sure like they look like things that I've like shot in a video game, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
that's what it
yeah,
looks like
yeah.
these are gonna be like the future like kind of security guards at like buildings and stuff, man. It's already happening. This is the AI super future that's gonna take over the world, mate.
Yeah, now
um,
Savik's right. If you kick them, it would hurt you more than them. I
yeah,
mean, that's it. Yeah,
probably.
that's kind of a given. But I think what I meant by kicking them is like you can give them like a hard push with your leg or with your hands.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they
and they'll
they kind of
adjust.
fumble, but then and the way they adjust is very very natural, if that's the right word to use. It's not like they just completely sway and then come back up. They actually take the steps that a normal dog or a normal human would take
Because
to
they
kind
have
of
their
readjust.
senses. Because
Yeah,
they had their senses, and then they have like the counterweights that then they like manipulate, and that's
Yeah,
kind of like that's how we work, right?
yeah.
Like we've
That's how
got
we.
like our skins are just sensors, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
biological sensors.
yeah.
And yeah, it's really cool. I didn't see the video, but that seems like a pretty
I'll see if I can
dope
find it
thing
for
to
you.
see what's
So.
happening. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Send it over. Um, Speaking of things that are electrical, did you see how Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro in the new
Yeah,
Spider-Man in the new
yeah.
Spider-Man movie? I haven't actually seen the
That was such
Amazing
a. He was
Spider-Man
so
2.
bad in that movie, man. Like his character was just, man,
Yeah, that
so bad,
bad.
so bad.
Well,
Like I just didn't like it. I think they had a lot of things that they just didn't need in that.
yeah, you see, that's what seems to happen with all the like really bad Spider-Man films is like they throw too many villains, rather than having like maybe two
Even
villains and they're good villains,
and
right?
Harry Osborn just looked deformed, man.
Yeah, like really emo and
Yeah,
yeah,
he
no,
just
I
looked
remember.
bad. Like he just
Yeah.
like you actually felt sorry for him. Like it's okay. Like
Here's the thing, right? So and I thought this was weird too, but I actually mentioned to you, oh, maybe they're doing a multiverse thing with the new Spider-Man movie, and you know what got confirmed today?
what?
That Benedict Cumberbatch is actually going to be in Spider-Man 3. Yeah. So I think it's really
Oh, they're
yeah,
doing the
so I think my theory about it being a
multiverse.
multiverse like kind of event story is kind of getting more having more and more evidence showing. Now for people who don't know, the new WandaVision movie that's coming out is going to result in some kind of
No movie, TV show.
oh sorry, TV show,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
WandaVision TV show that's coming out on Disney Plus is going to end up with Wanda kind of screwing up the universe in some capacity, and it's going to result in maybe characters coming from other movies and like showing up on like different movies and stuff. And I think the Doctor Strange movie, Doctor Strange 2, is going to have Wanda and Doctor Strange like trying to fix the multiverse. And so I think maybe in between that. Doctor Strange is probably going to appear in Spider-Man 3, and Spider-Man has to deal with all these villains from his other movies, with actors
Yeah,
coming back and reprising their roles, such as Jamie Foxx as Electro.
yeah, kind of
They
connecting.
make a Sinister Six or something. You know how they
Right.
were
I
talking
mean, they've
about
already
it.
talked about Morbius, so we already got Morbius.
Well, I don't know about Morbius. You
No,
think
no, but
Morbius?
no, yeah. I think Morbius will be included in this universe because
Well, no, no. But what about in this movie for the Sinister Six, though? Do you think he's going to be in that? I don't
no,
think so.
probably not. No, I don't think it would be the case, but I think he will later down the track be
Maybe.
connected because they showed what's his name, man, Michael Keaton in the advertisement.
Oh, really? Is
Yeah,
playing
he's a
the Vulture character?
yeah.
Oh,
They show
okay.
him, yeah. They show him in the Morbius trailer.
Yeah, I guess all that is technically owned by Sony, right? So it
It
makes sense
is,
that
yeah,
they would show him. Okay, yeah,
yeah.
all
So
right.
yeah. I mean, so that's a pretty
Yeah,
big
okay, yeah,
connect.
maybe he
Yeah,
might be. Who knows?
yeah.
Anything's possible
Anything's
now that the
possible. Yeah,
multiverse is
it's
getting all
open.
messed
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's what they're probably doing. Maybe we might see like some other actors from the previous Spider-Man movies come back and reprise their roles. Like maybe we might get like I don't know Sandman, or we might get the biggest thing is if we got whatchamacallit as Green Goblin. I forgot his. I'm forgetting the actor's name, but you
Willem
know who I'm
Dafoe.
talking about. Willem Dafoe. If they get Willem Dafoe back as the
Yeah, I'll be
Goblin,
sold, man.
that'd be crazy.
That'll be
That'd be crazy.
crazy. Yeah, I'll be
And
so down for that.
especially since they have like Jonah Jameson played by like the same actor too, so it's like already like they're
And
kind of
playing the
like
same character. It's not like
yeah,
he's
and the
just
same
in it.
character, right? So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting if they do like because they don't have enough like movies to do a proper Sinister Six, but they
yeah,
can do it if they have a multiverse event. So I think that's the reason why they're doing it like that. So it is really cool. It's really interesting to see. Again, that's going to be like the final Spider-Man movie, unless Sony decides to give the
yeah.
Marvel
Beyond like a
the
trilogy.
character,
Yeah.
yeah, like, at least contractually, at least. So I guess we'll have to see going forward if that's what they end up doing. Um, oh, the Avenger game. Remember the Avengers, the game that came out that looked really bootleg and bad. Apparently, it dipped below 1,000 players on PC, and to the point that it's causing matchmaking problems.
1,000 players.
Less than 1,000 players on PC, at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a
So
failure, man.
I mean, the game looked really bad.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like even when I saw this game initially, it just looked like Anthem. Remember
Anthem. Yeah,
Anthem?
yeah, yeah. I agree.
Um,
What happened to Anthem?
that game's dead, man. Like I think like earlier this year, I think like during December, you know how like certain games have like Christmas events. Like Destiny will have like a Christmas event and
Yeah,
there's like
yeah, yeah.
snow and shit everywhere. They had a similar thing with Anthem, but they kept the Christmas stuff going on for like past December. Because that's how much they didn't like care about this game, man.
Oh my
Like,
God.
and that's a problem, right? When
I
you
thought
create a yeah,
the
sorry.
first trailer for Anthem looked like absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Like
look cool.
the world just looked, really really beautiful. The water, like the textures, everything just looked amazing. Um, but it just felt like okay, like what's the point of this game? Like when you really
I
take a moment and you stop and think, okay, but why am I doing this? Because I think that's the same problem that Destiny faced when it
yeah.
was first showcased. It was showcased as this game that you could go to all these different planets,
Hmm.
you can do all this exploring. There's going to be new enemies. The story is going to progress. But
Hmm.
then it comes, you really play the game, you even do the raid, and it makes no difference to the actual universe itself. Like you can go do the raid like multiple times. You can do it weekly. The same
Hmm.
raid. You
Sure.
do
Well,
it
you
for
get to get like weapons and stuff.
yeah, like you do it to get weapons, to get like armor,
Hmm.
but the universe, like the actual setting, the way that the planets look, nothing really changes. It
Mm.
looks all the same, but you're doing the same, like you're beating the final boss like multiple times. So after a while, people get really bored.
Yeah, that's why you kind of need like the new content to kind of get people back in.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you need with these big, these massive scale games is a constant stream of, just like even if it's like a tickle, if they're just tickling down like a little bit of content
Hmm.
every 2 weeks or every month, I think people
Hmm.
will be more likely to engage in the game and like enjoy the game.
But here's the problem: you actually need people playing the game to justify the development
No,
to
Destiny
release the
actually has a
content.
lot of
No, no, no. Well, I don't
players.
mean I don't
No,
mean
but
Destiny
Destiny
in
still,
particular.
that's what I mean. Like, I'm talking about Destiny.
Oh, okay.
It's still the
Yeah.
same problem, right?
Oh, right.
Like
Yeah, sure.
people play on multiplayer. Multiplayer
Mm,
is fun because it's a very dynamic um, type of game because you've got like three different classes, and then within the three classes you have four subclasses. So it kind of like makes it very interesting. Like you can a
mix and
particular
match
class.
like what
Yeah,
kind of play
yeah, like
style you want to play.
yeah,
Yeah.
your character from a particular class can can do something that the other characters can't do.
Hmm.
So they have like abilities that are some are close distance, some are long distance, and
Hmm.
some are like some have healing capacity. Um, so yeah, like there's more to it because it's a very like it can become very clutch
Hmm.
in the final moments because you don't know what if that character has a super built up, you have no idea, and then like he just pops his super, and then you're like, oh shit.
And then you get fucked
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. You see, unfortunately, I never got into Destiny just because like I think the first game was like a console only thing, right? Like it was only on
PlayStation and
PlayStation
Xbox. Yeah,
and
it started
Xbox,
with
right?
PlayStation, and then yeah.
Then it went to Xbox. And then, they released Destiny 2, but you see, this is the big problem that I kind of don't like. When you don't release I guess like the games as they come out, people kind of get put off on trying to play it. Like for example, like I've always wanted to play Kingdom Hearts, but
Mm.
Kingdom Hearts never came out on the Xbox, but then they released Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Xbox One X. Like it's not going to sell well. Like people, yeah, maybe they'll buy it like if they don't know, oh
Out of
hey, look,
curiosity,
it's
yeah, they're
yeah,
like,
like,
I
oh
want to
hey,
be
look,
part
it's
of the
Mickey.
thing.
I like Mickey. Like,
Yeah,
but like if you never played, people look at the 3 number and are like, ooh, yeah. That's what you kind of see like, Call of Duty and stuff. They don't do like Call of Duty 8, they just call it like Call of Duty this, and then
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
buy it, right? Because
People
they
buy it.
they understand it's like a standalone thing. And with something like Destiny 2, when people see the 2, it's like, oh well, do I need to play the first game? Maybe, maybe
Yeah,
not. Yeah. So
and the biggest mistake they made with Destiny 2 was they wanted they wanted it to be a game for everyone, but you can't do that. You can't
everyone.
please everyone because when you try to please everyone, you please no one, and that's
Mm,
exactly what happened. Like the game, I remember like Destiny 2 came out. I think I would say it came out prematurely. Like they didn't really like change the game much. They
mm,
kind of did what Call of Duty did, but Call of Duty does it every year. So for them to look similar, for example, Cold War to look very similar to what was the last one that came? Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare, yeah.
Yeah, like I would be okay with that because that there's only a 12-month gap. But then when you have like a 3-year gap, the game has to look much better, in my opinion, because you're almost like leaping a generation. Uh,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true. I can
yeah,
definitely understand that.
yeah. Like how many generations of graphics card
Yeah,
CPUs have
people
come and
have,
gone? Yeah.
yeah.
So when they made that game, like they wanted to market it to everyone, so they wanted to bring new players into the game,
Mm.
um, and they did in the start. But the problem was it just didn't make any sense because they watered everything down and
Oh,
nothing.
really?
Yeah, so there was no such thing as like oh, this is a really exclusive gun. Oh, if you have that, that's OP as
Hmm.
hell. Like and it just became like why would I spend? I used to spend like let's say like 10 hours a week. Now I can get everything in 2 hours a week. So
Like, yeah,
yeah,
why bother? Yeah. Hmm.
why even play for
It,
two
it,
hours a week? Like I'm not really connecting with the game because like
and
gamers usually go like that because they want to connect with the game. So every day when they turn their
yeah,
console
you
on,
want to
they
invest. Yeah, you want to invest your time in a game and enjoy the gameplay,
yeah,
right, and stuff like that. There has to be. It's like it's referred to as like a gameplay loop, right?
yeah,
Like you go in, you enjoy the content that's being in the game, and that's why you keep coming back every week. And maybe that's part of the reason why people are kind of sick of the jankiness and the gameplay loop of the Avengers game. Like it's not that fun to play, and it has to be the case if it's making
it just
sub
looks bad
one
as well.
thousand. Yeah,
Have you
it
seen
looks like bootleg
the
Avengers,
level?
man.
Yeah, have you seen the level design, man? It's such a lazy level design. There's some like level designs where it was just literally just squares, and it's like
Yeah.
with a really like with a flat background, just like these squares appearing out of nowhere. So just like
Okay.
polygons appearing out of nowhere makes no
Yeah, and
difference
then
at
it's
all.
just
Like
like what go into a thing, load screen to on an elevator to the next room or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. And that's the thing with all these kind
What a
of
half-ass effort, huh? for.
But that's the thing, like they kind of look at it and they think, oh, there's going to be people who enjoy these kind of games. This will sell really well. It's like, back when everything ended up becoming like a battle royale, right? Because like, oh, people
Mm,
like battle royale, so we'll make our own battle royales. And turns
area
out like just slapping a battle royale name on it isn't going to be enough, right? Like
enough,
you have
yeah.
to have a unique idea. Like that's the thing with like Fall Guys. Fall Guys is technically a battle royale, but it's like it's not like a shooter. It does its own kind of thing. It's more like Mario Party, but it's a
Battle
battle
Royale,
royale.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's really
But even then, like it's a very different kind of battle royale. Like the game doesn't end in one game. It's a combination of multiple games,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
It keeps you entertained.
yeah,
That's
it
the
keeps you
gameplay
entertained.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and yeah, if you guys haven't tried Fall Guys, I would say give it a go.
yeah.
It's a
Definitely
whole
over
lot of
the
fun.
new Avengers game.
Yeah, definitely over that, man.
And
If you're looking to buy a new game, that's probably a game to try because it's not that serious. You can play it with your friends as well, and you can play it against your friends in a way because even if you're in a party,
mhm,
you're technically not on the same team. So at the end of the
yeah,
day, yeah, you,
yeah. You're
there's
still
only one
competing.
crown. There's only one crown.
There is only one crown. That is true. Um, it's really funny that you mentioned like all the stuff about like Destiny, because it was like a game that was being promoted to come out on the
So
Google
hard.
Stadia. Remember the Google Stadia,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So the new Google Chromecast that's coming out won't be supporting Google Stadia till 2021.
What do you mean?
It's not. It doesn't have any support for it. Google's not putting any support. They're like, oh yeah, we'll get Google Stadia support on the Chromecast in 2021. I think you can still do like the Steam Link. You can do I think that like Nvidia has their own kind of virtual console.
So
Sorry,
what's so good
virtual
about the
gameplay.
new? What's so good about the new Chromecast?
I'm not sure, man. Like it's just probably it's like a Chromecast with Google TV, right? It's like I think it has like both of those features together, but that doesn't
What's
have
Google TV?
Stadia. Google TV. I think it's probably like. It's a good question. I'm not really 100% too sure. See,
Yeah, because I have
my
the
focus on that was more about the fact that it
that
won't be
Stadia.
supporting
Yeah.
Stadia, right? What a failed concept, right?
Again, I think it's being very optimistic, but not really putting the work in, and not really understanding um, like the the challenges that these streaming services, especially when it comes to gaming, man. Like
Mhm,
we have so much trouble gaming, um, from like systems that we've built ourselves. Imagine like
mhm,
gaming through this like channel where you activate um, one of the CPUs at a very remote location, and then you're uplinking that to yours, and then there's uplink and downlink, and
mhm.
and then there's also the lag um, of the
Between
actual
the servers and your machine,
yeah,
yeah,
and then the service of the game as well.
yeah.
If you think
J-
about that,
just
this
just to let you know, so Chromecast with
it's
Google
almost like a
TV
triangle.
Chromecast with Google TV streams your entertainment in up to like 4K, switching apps. So I think it's kind of like Apple TV, but it's Google TV, right? Like, like those kind of devices to allow people to play like Netflix and all that kind of stuff through your TV,
But
right?
that's
Rather than
nothing new though. Like
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Chromecast,
yeah.
Chromecast Ultras also allows you to stream 4K.
Hey, it's a new product. It's called Chromecast with TV. I'm just a messenger, man.
Yeah, no, but that's so weird. That's
It
so weird, man.
is weird, but I guess it's
Yeah,
just for like
let's have a
people.
look.
It's like the updated version of it. Now, the main thing is like, it is crazy. It's not that surprising that Google wouldn't go out and continue supporting things. They have like a history of not supporting things, their projects that they've developed, like Google Glass. Remember Google Glass?
Mm-hmm.
They have heaps. They have like there's this whole website dedicated to all Google's like failed projects, right?
Mm.
Um, but
Okay, I'll give him this much. By the way, I
oh
just
yeah,
had a look at
yeah.
the
What is it? Let's break it
Chromecast.
down.
Um, it looks nice from a point of view that it's got a remote of its own. I think
Mhm.
I would really appreciate that because yeah, like it does make a
As
bit of a
opposed to like
difference.
using your phone to navigate and do
Yep,
stuff, it's
yep.
better with a remote.
It's got a remote itself, so I
Better
think
for the boomers,
better for the
they know
boomers.
what a
Yeah,
remote they know what a
yeah. I think
remote is.
yeah, I think I'm getting there myself.
Yeah. But I guess the last story that I guess we'll talk about today is the PS5 internal hardware teardown. Did you watch the
I
teardown?
did, man. I did watch the
What do you think?
tear
I
down.
like I enjoyed the whole thing, like how we just like meticulously broke down everything and like pulled everything apart.
I really
Um,
enjoyed that as well. I thought it was
it was very satisfying just to see
yeah.
everything like
I love unboxings to begin with. Like that's really like one of my guilty pleasures. Like I watch a lot of unboxing um, on YouTube, and I
Ooh,
think like just watch.
any particular things that you like being unboxed, or is there like oh I like unboxing of like shoes or tech, or is there anything in particular you like unboxings of?
I like unboxings of a lot of the tech stuff because I
Tech
like
stuff.
watching. Yeah, I like the how they like remove because like if you look at like mobile phones or anything that's high
Mm,
end, it's packaged really well.
mm,
And of course like you really can't like it's financially impossible for you to like check out everything.
mm,
So I enjoy doing that, yeah, and I like to see like how people react to it, and that's always been like a thing. And working because I've worked in that industry where I sold a lot of tech
mm,
um, in the past, like it was always fun to see like how people react to the new device that they've purchased, their initial reactions, and like
mm.
just that like it's a really cool thing to experience. So seeing something that people hold on to for a while, like you look at a PlayStation for example,
Mm.
you use that for at least what 7 to 8 years, right? Like
Yeah,
if you buy it at the point it was released, you're gonna use that for at least 6 to 7 years, at least,
at least,
at
right?
least, yeah. And that could go even up to like 8 years, right? Like depending on how long it takes for them to release the next one.
Mm.
And to be honest, like I didn't even realize it's been that long since the PlayStation 4 came out.
It is crazy how much time has gone past, right?
Yeah, like I was like, okay, so they're already releasing the next one, and then I looked at like when it first came out. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
it
10,
makes
yeah, they
sense.
generally do generations in like a 10-year cycle, right? And this might be like the last like physical generation of consoles, right? That we might see because they're slowly kind of moving away from having like discs. They're
Mm,
giving the option of because that wouldn't have been a thing. Like, they tried to do that with like the Xbox One or whatever, and
yeah,
everybody laughed at their
yeah,
laughed at their face like they rightfully should have.
that was so
Um,
funny, man. I
Oh,
remember.
by the way, Shaq in the chat said it's like bootleg Foxtel, which I think is the quote for the Google TV and Chromecast. So yeah,
Oh, right, yeah,
yeah, makes sense. Just to give people the access to TV and stuff like that. But yeah, the thing that I found really interesting about the PS5 teardown is because how you can remove the white fins. I'm calling them fins for the lack of a
yeah,
better
yeah.
word.
Better word, yeah.
It's kind of
They look
cool
like fins anyway.
on instead.
But oh no, you
Yeah.
just you kind of
Um,
you
oh,
froze for
did
a
I
little.
cut out?
Yeah,
Sorry, apologies, guys. I was going to say, the one thing that I like about those fins is it does give you the option of, maybe 3D printing out your own fins and maybe putting your own kind of
oh
stuff in there
yeah,
rather
yeah.
than,
That's it. I never really thought of that.
yeah, well, that's when I have a friend who does like a lot of 3D printing stuff, and I was thinking, oh, it'd be really cool. You could just like maybe put your own kind of because if you have like it sideways, maybe you can make it so that it's you can have like a building or like a city on top of
On top
like
of
your
it, yeah,
PS5 if
yeah,
you wanted,
yeah,
right?
yeah. If you want it,
Um,
and because it's easily like you can easily switch it out. Like
mhm.
if you had like a warranty issue, you can take the fins out, put the original back in, and take it away.
Yeah, exactly. You can
Yeah,
customize it and
you
do
can
all that
customize it.
really cool
Yeah,
stuff. So,
that's true.
um,
I think
that's
it would
what I
be
want to
even
see.
easier. It would be even easier if you buy the digital one because it's the
Oh,
same.
because it's more smaller,
It's
right?
smaller
Yeah.
and it literally is like it mirrors on both
Ah,
sides.
yeah, because it's a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
like awkward
The
with the
symmetry,
main one,
yeah, the
right? Yeah, yeah,
symmetry
symmetry.
is better on the digital one.
During the teardown, they did it for the one with the disc, correct?
Yep, yep,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
apparently the fans really like, um, like uh, what
Super
is it?
thick, man. The
The
fans.
fan is thick, but apparently it's very quiet.
Yeah, it's
A
very
lot of
quiet.
initial reviews for it said it's very quiet, which I think is kind of really important for, I guess, PS4 owners because I think the PS4 was very loud,
It
right?
is very loud. It is very,
Yeah,
very loud.
like
Yeah.
it's like a helicopter ready to take off or
Yeah. Yeah,
something,
yeah, yeah.
something, right?
And
Um,
I have the Pro, and it just literally it's so damn loud, man. Like you can, especially when you're firing up something like Warzone or even Fall Guys, it
mm,
just cranks it up.
damn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you saw the heat sink in that
yeah, the heat sink
PlayStation.
is like
It's
I don't know.
wild, man. I've never seen a heat.
It's like they like hammered together like 8 heat sinks together and just like all right, yep, there we go.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
I think that's the reason why the fan
The
is so
shape is
quiet.
like that.
Yeah, and the shape is so
Oh,
big as
and
well.
why is why? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because
probably.
I feel like the logic board could have easily been um, condensed, right? Like
Mm.
it's not that big of a deal. But I think if you look at the size of the heatsink, I feel like that's where most of the weight of the console comes into play. I feel like that's where like the majority of the meat is.
Yeah, yeah, because I was looking at it and yeah, like there's all this really cool like interesting stuff that they've implemented for, like new tech, right? Like for example, they've got like the liquid metal like
That's very
bit in the
expensive, by the
middle.
way.
Yeah, well, like yeah, can you explain a little bit about like what
Oh,
exactly
it's
that
just
does?
so that's basically for the conduction between the processor and the logic board, so the motherboard.
Hmm.
And you use that when you're normally like sticking a the cooling system on top, right? Like
Hmm.
I don't know if you've done that. So like when you get that the silicon based
Hmm.
um, liquid that you spread across the top of the processor,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then you
the
connect the
paste,
fan
yeah.
on, yeah, the paste, and
Hmm.
then the thermal paste, sorry, and then you stick the fan on top.
Hmm.
Um, the the thermal paste normally runs out pretty quickly, right? It
Yeah, you
dries
have
out
to
after a
replace
while.
it.
You have
Yeah.
to replace it after a certain period. You'll notice like your the temperature of your CPU starts to increase over time because the thermal paste is drying out. Whereas the liquid metal has the properties of um,
It's
well,
metal.
virtually it's gonna stay there forever,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And the whole like the conductivity and the transfer of the heat is a lot better because of its properties. I think the thermal paste has a silicon base
Hmm.
with some metal properties, but with liquid metal, it's literally it's able to store heat and it's able to transfer heat just as quickly as it can, right? Like
Mm.
it's so it
Okay.
has that. It's not an insulator, right? Like it's not gonna cool things down. It's
Yeah, yeah.
able to but it's able to pass that onto the heat sink a lot faster. And that's the
Mm.
reason why, like the way that they've centered it in, and they've put that little, they've actually got a border, and then on top of that,
Yeah.
they've also got that the foam thing around so it doesn't slip out. Because
Spill
it
out. Yeah.
if it does spill out onto the logic board, it's game over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well,
So
yeah.
it's very expensive. It's very very expensive compared to a normal thermal paste that you buy.
Mm.
Um,
Well, a lot of the tech that I love the teardown. Like again, like usually I don't. Again, you know me. I'm not a console gamer. I haven't done it for years, but it's really cool to see them kind of go out of their way to kind of break down exactly what's happening. And I kind of like these. Like Nintendo has been doing it for a while. They're called Nintendo Directs, where they'll just give out a bunch of information and be like, "Hey, this is a Nintendo Switch. This is a game coming out. This is whatever we're working with. There you go." It's like Bing Bang Bong. Like everything that you want to know about Nintendo, they give it out. And given that we've had a bunch of like conventions get cancelled this year, this is the direction that a lot of these companies are going towards. One, it's cheaper, right? And two, it's direct to the people. There's no middleman, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
they're going to be able to interact with fans of um, you know, uh, of video games much more better than what they did in the past. So I
Yeah.
like all these kind of more personalized and more informative kind of content that video game developers and companies are doing, and I think it's a good thing going
So
forward.
I'm gonna post a question that I always ask you. I
Oh,
always
okay.
ask you, and I know the
What's the
answer, but I'm
question?
still gonna
Oh wait.
ask you
Oh
anyway.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
You already know.
Ask
You
it.
already know.
Ask
You
it.
already
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Initially, I was like, "Oh, what question is that?" Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. I'm gonna say no, mate. I mean, look, I'll have to at least wait for some actual games to come out because again,
Okay, okay.
even
Let's say the games come out and
Mm.
they're amazing games, right? You've got first of all you got God of War Ragnarok coming
God of
out.
War, there's like the Miles Morales game.
Yep, that comes out
What else?
on
There's
release.
the what
Um,
else?
And then it's got the Horizon Zero Dawn. There's a
That's gonna
new
come out
there's a
on
new
PC. So
it's
I
is
mean,
it
that
gonna,
gives
is it
you.
coming out at the same time though?
It's. I'll wait a year for it, mate.
What do
It's
you mean?
gonna look. You bought Horizon Zero Dawn, didn't you, for PC?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? You need to. It's really good.
No, I
It'll
haven't bought
look
it
way
yet.
better on your machine than it does on a PS4. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know if you saw the specs for the PS5. I think it is something that will last you a while because
Mhm.
it's got 16 gigabytes of DDR6 RAM, which
Mhm.
is the VRAM. So it is capable of pushing some good amount of graphics.
But
And
here's the thing: I can be a patient gamer. Like hypothetically, if my mind changes,
mhm.
I'll just get a PS5 with a bunch of games that come with it. Right? There's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
be
No,
some.
what I'm saying is, would you consider it like because
I'll consider
the reason why I buy a PlayStation is because of the social aspect of
exclusives.
it.
Oh
Yeah,
well, yeah, the social aspect.
and the of course the exclusives as well, and the comfort of me just being in my bed, and playing games. Yeah, it's just convenient, right? Like
Mhm.
it's I do enjoy PC gaming, and I've been a PC gamer since I was a
Actually,
kid.
actually, I guess the chat won't know. We actually started playing Halo together.
Yeah,
We've been talking about it for a while. We're like, oh, we got to get together. We got to play Halo. Someone used to play. I actually didn't know this until recently. Someone was like a big Halo fan. When I found out, I was like, oh, well, we got to play Halo together. It actually made a lot of sense because you played a lot of Destiny, Bungie developed
Yeah, yeah,
Destiny.
that's pretty much the reason why I even picked up Destiny to begin with, because I
Yeah,
knew it
because
was
of
coming
the
from
original
Bungie. Yeah.
developers, right? Yeah. So we got like the Master Chief Collection, and we started playing it. It'd be cool if we could maybe get like a gaming stream for people to see
We
us
gotta
like
figure
kind
that
of.
one out. We
Oh,
gotta figure that
remember
one
we,
out.
we were basically having like a mini podcast during our last gaming.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just extra content for the people. So you guys have to let us know. Do you want to watch us play video games? Do you want to watch someone unbox some tech? Right? Let us know what you want to see.
I mean, look,
I'm.
I mean, I'm gonna have a couple of things coming in. Um,
Oh, well, you can't tell us what it is yet.
yeah, I mean,
We
we
just
can
have to
keep it a
watch for the
surprise. Yeah.
unboxing.
And what else? Before we wrap things up, there's another topic, and that is, one second. Let me pull it up first so I have the accurate details before I say anything.
Oh no, what is this topic?
Um, are you excited for the Apple event on the 14th
Oh yeah, so
next week?
um yeah, so what is the Apple event and
So
why
this
should
is
I
the
care about
first.
it?
So this is going to be the first virtual Apple event,
Hmm.
in the history of their unboxings, I guess, and unveils. This is going to be so they recently announced the Apple Series 6, Apple Watch Series 6. They announced
Okay.
the new iPad Air, which is more in line with the iPad Pro. So they've gone into the
Okay.
direction of a more industrial design, more chamfered edges, and just overall a better build quality, right? They're
Hmm.
moving into a very different direction, but
Is,
um,
is that because of their move from China to India? Is that like part of the reason or
no, I
maybe
think it's just a different product design altogether.
okay.
Yeah, they're just taking, I guess, like they're trying to change the way the Apple devices look,
Hmm.
in general. They've done that with their laptops.
Hmm.
They've done that with the phones. If you look at like an iPhone 8 in
Hmm.
comparison with the iPhone 10, it's a completely different looking phone, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, and on the 14th of October,
Hmm.
they are going to be revealing the new iPhone.
So there's a
Yeah,
big event that's happening where,
yeah.
and is this their? They do digital events, don't they? Or is this like the first?
This is the first major event. I think they did it for the Apple Watch and the iPad Air.
Mhm.
Because they also released two. So there are a couple of things that I want to talk about here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so Apple's taken a very smart approach. So they've got an iPad which is an affordable one. I think it's kind of in that $400 price mark. And
Okay.
although like although I have an iPad Pro, I still believe that my Samsung tablet is still a better device, even if it's not as powerful as the iPad Pro, overall, because it's just more, the versatility of a tablet is supposed to replace your laptop, and I think Apple is still
Hmm.
far away when it comes to the iPads. In terms of the accessibility, in terms of like moving the files around, um, or downloading things onto your iPad. I think it's still pretty limited. But besides that, majority of the people, majority of the businesses, even in education, they prefer to have iPads,
Hmm.
because they're supported for longer. You can get your iOS updates for much longer than an Android
Hmm.
device does. In general, like it's easier to get the iPad devices serviced, right? And when you're buying big numbers, you want everything to be running smooth.
Yeah.
So that's I guess like the plus point where Apple kind of takes the cake, in terms of the durability and the reliability. Um, and so just before like I go to the iPhones, I just want to mention like what the point that I was trying to make is Apple's
Hmm.
trying to divide the camp in three bases.
Okay.
So what Apple's realized is that people are not buying phones as often as they used to. The average cycle used to be, a year and a half to 2 years. The person would update their phone, but now that cycle's being pushed to 3 years and beyond. So you don't have a lot of new buyers coming
Well,
in
I mean, you should know with me, I had my iPhone 5 SE for for years,
for
like
years, man.
absolute years.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
takes me it like it
until mommy bullied you into
yeah,
buying.
yeah, until I got bullied by multiple people being like, "You're such a big guy, but you have such a small phone." I was like, "God damn, all right, fine, I'll get a new phone." God damn. And I haven't looked back since. Someone helped me out with that S10, excellent phone. Been loving it. But I've been out of the Apple architecture.
Yeah, the Apple bubble. Yeah,
The bubble. Yeah, I've
I'm
escaped. I've
Yeah,
escaped.
I thought
Um,
it made more sense for you to have an Android because of just how flexible they are, man. I mean, I'm sure you've realized how easy it is to download things that are not on
Oh
the.
yeah, yeah. There's very excellent things that you can download online
Mm,
for Android phones.
yeah,
And yeah, I really everything
it
about
is
it.
like a
Just
pocket computer. An Android is
yeah,
like a pocket computer,
yeah.
right? It's not as
It is.
Yeah, it's not as I guess like it's not as hip as like your iOS devices or your mobile
But that's the
phones.
thing. I think that's just like a perception thing,
It is
right?
it is a perception.
I remember there was like a meme that I remember seeing where it's like some girl was saying like, oh, what kind of phone is that? And like someone mentions, oh, it's like a what is that, a Samsung S12 or something. She's like, oh, I have an iPhone 5, right? Like it's like because of the perception that it's an iPhone, people think it's better. But that kind of goes from Apple's excellent marketing of their products, right? Where people associate quality with their products.
Mm.
I guess to people in the chat, like, do you guys have a preference? Do you guys like Apple iPhones, or do you like Android devices, whether it be a Samsung, HTC, Google?
Yeah, Google's so
Five?
yeah, I'm gonna touch base on Google as well because Google also released their new phone, the Pixel
Mm-hmm.
5. Um,
Five, okay.
so what's happened is, people, of course, with recession, with things like COVID, people losing their jobs or people just being very cautious about where they want to spend their money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, every company, every major company is now focusing on that mid range.
Mm-hmm.
So good value for your money. You have your, um, I would say like sub $1,000 phone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in Australia would be, maybe
Yeah,
twelve hundred,
yeah,
twelve
yeah.
hundred. Because everything is more expensive.
Expensive here, yeah.
And in the US,
Classic.
I think in the US you're looking at $700. Six
Mm-hmm.
fifty to $700 is the market, where a lot of companies are now bringing out phones that are not as good as your top of the range, but they do kind of tease that premium side of things. So they might have
Mm-hmm.
maybe a similar camera or a similar design, and that's where Apple has released, for example, um, you know an entry level iPad, that everyone can
Mm-hmm.
use, and they've got the iPad Air, which everyone can use as well. They've got the MacBook Air, which I think everyone can
Would it would
relatively afford.
would it be like kind of how they're releasing like there'll be like, let's say, like an iPhone X, and then there's like an iPhone XS, and then there's like, which is like a smaller version but has similar features
Yeah, yeah.
in
So
quality. like
Yeah,
how they're
so
targeting that middle market.
they've broken it down even more. So, in terms of if you go to the watches, for example,
Hmm.
they released two watches that look identical, right?
Okay.
So if you looked at it on my wrist, you wouldn't be able to tell which one I'm using.
Hmm.
Um, so they released the Series 6, which is of course, their flagship smartwatch, but they also
Hmm.
released the SE. So
Okay.
this is the SE line is the one to look at, because it it's affordable.
Yeah.
It may have last year's chipset, which doesn't really make much of a difference. Has an updated design,
Hmm.
um, and it's also current. So it's not like you're buying an older device. The SE line is cheaper than, even though it's using last year's chipsets or modules,
Hmm.
it's still cheaper than last year's device.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where
Uh,
yeah, that's where you're kind of getting that. Um, I guess, like, you're still getting something new.
hmm.
Maybe with some older parts, but you don't really know, or you don't really care for that. You're
Hmm.
not really pushing your phone to the max anyway.
Maximum. Yeah.
Yeah, and if
But it
these were,
looks, but it looks like the new
yeah, it looks like the new
devices.
device. Yeah,
Mm. Oh.
and that's where I think Apple is trying to bring newer people into their ecosystem by offering cheaper devices, and you still get to have you can have an entire ecosystem. You can have your Apple Watch SE, you can have um, your iPhone SE, you can have an iPad Air or the simple iPad, and you can say, like, you're still part of the ecosystem, so you still get that, the Apple lifestyle,
Hmm. But
and
at a fraction of the price.
yeah, you are paying less than half. Because you look at, for example, what Apple's doing this year, they're releasing four phones. So
Hmm.
they're releasing the Pro series,
Yeah.
in the plus size and the regular size, and then they've got the mid series, which is, I think, the same size as your regular iPhone.
Hmm.
And then they're also releasing a mini iPhone, a much
A
smaller size.
mini.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I think it's just I think it's like, in physical form, it's probably just as big as the iPhone 6, but it's a full
Okay.
screen design, so it's a bigger display. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
and that's for the people who complain about phones being too big. So now they've
Yeah. Sure.
now they've got all that spectrum covered. So they're going from the very smallest to the very largest. So depending on where you find yourself, to be more
Yeah.
appropriate. Um,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
they're
look. Yeah. Sorry. No. Go.
yeah, and I think they're also going to release a cheaper model of the AirPods.
Hmm. Okay.
Again,
Yes. People
yeah,
can get AirPods.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then you can say, I've got AirPods.
I got AirPods. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I mean, and that's the thing, right? I definitely have been seeing like there has been like a ballooning price for phones.
yeah.
It used to
The
be
top of the
uh
range
yeah, like it used to be unthinkable that like
phone would
phones would
cost like,
cost over $1,000, right?
and now
And
they're like crossing
because for example,
2,000.
like I paid for my new computer like 1,000 300 or something rather. Got a really good deal for my computer. It's a really good computer. And now that's the cost of a phone. Now, to be fair, you're probably using your phone more often than your computer
Computer,
for the
yep,
most part for a
yep.
lot of people. But at the same time, it is something that I sometimes see as all these like mobile companies and stuff like that taking advantage of people's like desire to have to keep upgrading it and get a new phone. And there are people who will pay that premium for
Yep.
that top of the line phone. And ultimately, it's just like it's a game of capitalism, right? Where they're gonna sell products at this price because people are buying them at this price. But what you're kind of explaining is, well, now there's a lot of people who are waiting for 3 years or whatever before they replace the phone rather than
Yeah.
every 1.5 years or 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
and now you can buy into the mid range if you can't afford the top of the range, and
Well, that's the thing.
maybe,
I feel like the mid-range would have probably been what phones would have been like back in the day as their top range. But
yeah,
now that they're pushing out a lot of tech now because they're like, oh well, there's going to be people who want to pay 1,600 for a new phone. Well, it'd be like 1,600 here, right? On a
even more,
plan, yeah,
even
even
more. By
more,
the way, it's eighteen
even more.
hundred. Yeah,
Eighteen
roughly
hundred,
1,800.
goddamn. Well, there you go, right?
Yeah,
There's going to be people who like, oh, I need that phone. They don't know why they need that phone, other than oh well, yeah, it is an iPhone and it's the new iPhone.
Well,
Um,
yeah. I mean, this time around they're kind of baiting it. Like, if I, because I like, a big display. Like, I have
mhm.
the plus size iPhone. And I think they're gonna add an extra camera or like something more into the top, the very top of the range, plus size phone. But they're not gonna
How
do
many
that in
cameras
a.
can they fit on a phone, mate? Like
Oh, they've gone up to like five, which is absolutely ridiculous. And
you'll see next minute the entire back of the phone is
put
just
it
like
as
multiple
cameras,
cameras,
yeah,
mate. You
yeah.
know, like the covers for them won't even be able to cover them all, right?
Nah,
But I
nah.
like it. Hey, it's all about pushing tech. We're seeing all the like cool phones, like all the flip phones that are coming out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
The Samsung's
like
doing pretty well in that department, I
yeah,
would
like
say.
okay, because imagine, because like that's all where Samsung is doing. You'll see that Apple will eventually go down this line and they'll produce something,
But I
and
think they're
everybody will
waiting.
jump on it,
I
right?
think I think they would wait until they know that they can capitalize that market.
Yeah, on the market.
They
Yeah,
because Samsung's kind of being, this they're being explorative more
yeah,
than
yeah.
yeah,
Pioneers
they
in
yeah
regard.
in innovation, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like Apple kind of like sits on the fence and just watches how people react to a certain
Hey,
product, and then they will go into it. Like that's how
yeah,
I feel like they do with a lot of things.
I forget what it was, but there was something that like Samsung and Android phones had for ages, and
The
then
widgets,
Apple was it the widgets, and then
yeah,
there was something, and like Apple like made them out to be like this really big thing, like oh look at these. It's like yeah, this stuff has already been available on this other
platform,
device
yeah,
or whatever, but like because they're able to market themselves
a lot
to
better, yeah,
people, that's yeah, ultimately
yeah.
that's what gets you customers buying your product and buying into the ecosystem which they want to control.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, Samsung did a very similar thing. So they released S20 Fan Edition, which is again a cheaper model. I think it's about $1,200, 5G capable. It's made with like a cheaper material, like it's got a plastic back, but
Mhm.
and it's got like I think like a 1080p display in comparison to a quad HD display,
Yeah.
at a more affordable price, and performs really well. It has decent cameras, but again, it's a cheaper price point, and that's where, and then Google, they used to make $1,000 plus. I would say not even 1,000, like 15, $1,600 phones,
Mhm.
and they weren't doing too well because even if they had like the latest processor, like they didn't look too appealing.
Mhm.
Their product design was a bit dated. Um, they didn't have, even though their camera image processing is top notch,
Mhm.
they didn't have like the wide angle. They didn't have anything that really appealed to the young people. So people who are like Android purists or Android enthusiasts, they would go out and buy a Nex. Sorry, it used to be called a Nexus. Now it's called a Pixel. Would go out and buy a Pixel, but last few phones haven't really like really like excelled
Mhm.
in sales. They've you can even call them failures. Um,
Right. Okay.
yeah, but this time around, what they've done is instead of like going to for the the most expensive processor,
Mhm.
um, they decided to go for um, a mid-range processor and make
Mhm.
a mid-range phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that I think it's like $699 US,
Mhm.
roughly about 1,100 here.
Yeah.
And it's got an amazing camera. It's performing really well. It's getting really good reviews. It's
Mhm.
handling the apps really well as well because the software is optimized for it. So that is going to attract a lot more people because
Yeah,
honestly
makes
speaking, like
sense.
if I was in the market to buy an Android phone, that would be my first option
Yeah.
because it's made by Google and I know that,
It's going to be
yeah,
quality.
it's going to be quality because, Android is their platform.
Mhm.
You will get the latest update, you'll get the latest security patches, you get all that very quickly. And the cameras are also really well. Like they have really good post image processing because that's where
Mhm.
like the big difference comes into play. And for the viewers, if you guys didn't know, Samsung, your Samsungs, your Pixels, and your iPhones, they all use the same cameras. So all their sensors come from Sony. What makes it different is the software, not the camera itself. So if you find that the Samsung photo looks, like more muddy or more potato, it's not because the camera is bad. It's because Samsung hasn't really invested their um, the R&D into the software that kind of develops the photo.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know that. So,
yeah,
hey, I learned something new.
yeah.
Excellent.
So they all come from the same source. It's just how the company who is putting those sensors into their into their mobile phones, how they utilize it, really differentiates between what's a good
Different
camera and
one.
what's not. Because I always see this like people always complain about like how Android cameras are not the best. That's not the case. It's not really the camera. It's
It's the
uh,
software.
yeah, and
Hmm.
and I would say that Pixels kind of they are the exception. I would say when it comes to Android. And if you watch a lot of people who are doing like an objective review, they would say that Pixels do really well.
Okay.
Especially when I'm not sure about socials,
Mm.
but in general, like when people take out their phone to take photos, and the Pixels do really well. So like that's a really good market. I think the mid-ranger market is picking up, and I feel like it's because we've kind of hit a plateau when it comes to innovation.
Yeah.
It's become very incremental, like when it comes to the top of the range. Like if you pick up, um, you know, let's say like the predecessor of the latest phone and compare it to the current phone, yeah, it will have benchmark differences, but when it comes to like your daily life use,
It's
you're not
not
gonna
that
really gonna yeah, you're not
huge.
really gonna feel a difference. Um, I wanted to update my iPhone just because like I'm pretty used to updating my phone, but I haven't done it
Mm.
for the past 2 years. But I really don't see the purpose because most likely this iPhone's gonna look exactly the same in
Mm.
terms of the display as my current phone. So why would I bother spending my money on something that looks exactly the same? I'll wait
And the
until it looks
performance is
different.
probably going to be more or less the
Yeah,
same, right?
more or less the same. I mean, after a while, you get used to anything, right? Like
Yeah.
after a while, you really don't see that extra speed. And
And look, you see, the way I see it is like, yeah, there may not be a lot of incremental, sorry, there may be incremental changes over time
mm,
because there's not a lot of innovation. But I think part of the reason why there isn't a lot of innovation is because these companies have, or especially Apple, they have a huge market share
mm,
in like already. So why there's no incentive to innovate? Why would they
yeah,
need to innovate when people are just going to buy, oh yeah, this has slightly more faster RAM and this has got like one extra camera. That's good enough for me. I'll pay $1,800 for it, right? It's
yeah.
like there's no need. They need to have some other kind of external force, like another company, like Huawei comes in and is like, oh, here's a this, it's basically an iPhone, but it's $500. Like they'd have to do something ridiculous like
But
that to just make.
even then, right? Like people are not gonna jump because people who like an Apple are
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much
yeah.
yeah
Yeah,
they're stuck with iOS no matter like how good another phone
yeah, yeah.
is.
All my files are in the cloud and all my blah
Yeah,
blah blah. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
you hear that all the time, right? Like and I've dealt with that so many times myself.
mm.
It's really not that big of a deal. After a while, you get used to it. The initial thing is a bit difficult because you're not used to how the system works.
Hey, I switched from an iPhone to a Samsung. It was easy. It was
Mm,
very
well, there
very
you go.
easy.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm not trying to advocate here that you should make the switch, but I don't think it's as bad. I think it's more of a different, more of a
don't have
preference.
loyalties to companies.
Yeah, I think I think
Don't
that's
do that.
yeah.
That's all.
It's not to your benefit. It's really what they want. They want loyalty, but they're not really giving you anything in return, right? Like you don't
No,
get
not at all.
you don't get brownie points for being with Apple for 10 years or being with Samsung for 10 years. Like you don't get nothing extra.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I guess we'll keep an eye out for that Apple uh,
Yeah.
online
And let
thing.
us know, like, let us know if you'll be buying the new iPhone. Because I know a lot of people looking for a new smartphone, and because I keep getting questions about the new iPhone, people message me about asking about what's coming out next and what's happening next.
Yes, yeah, someone's a resident expert. Let us know. Let us know.
Let us know
What
if
you
you
guys.
or if you need any advice with tech. You can reach out to me as well. But yeah,
Where can they find you, someone?
oh, they can message me on Mind Over Matters. I'm one of the admins, so um, yeah, you don't have to reach out anywhere else. Like you can literally go to our Instagram page, Mind Matters Life, and you'll find me there.
But you should also follow his Instagram because he actually puts a lot of excellent pictures. Oh man, we haven't really gotten into it, but you've been taking a lot of pictures during this lockdown of various different things like flowers and sunsets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Where can they find those pictures?
They will find that at Infinity Snaps. So it's an infinity with an I, not a Y, because Y was already taken.
Yeah.
So yeah, find me there. I am working on creating a portfolio online, in more so you
Oh,
can see the photos in there. I guess like the full resolution. You really Instagram doesn't do justice to the work that I put into them.
yeah, because they
Uh,
compress it, right?
yeah, they do compress it quite a bit, so you don't get that clarity. You don't get the colors that I'm really trying to showcase. So I'm working on that. I also, by the way, Adam, have some
Mm.
ideas
Oh,
of I'm gonna speak to a few people, but I'm planning on doing a shoot that's inspired by cyberpunk. So the colors that I
oh,
see in cyberpunk, I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
try and bring them into some portrait shoots, but just the colors and the vibe of cyberpunk.
Hmm.
And kind of like showcase like what I see when I see cyberpunk.
Oh, excellent. Look at that. An exclusive right here on Mind Under Matters. Excellent. You know what? That gets me excited because I want to keep
And I might
I
need your
love
help for
cyberpunk.
it. So yeah,
You know what? You know what? I'm already sold. I'm already sold, man. I'll help you out. So yeah, so check him out on Infinity Snaps. Thanks guys for tuning in and watching Mind Under Matters. We appreciate you guys coming in every week and watching us talk about random stuff that happens on the internet and in the world.
yeah,
We have Mind Over Matters every Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern Australian Eastern Standard Time. So come check us out for the new show that's coming up. But till then, we'll see you next week. Catch you later,
yeah.
guys.
See you later.